Welcome to Real Stories and Confessions. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you a story about a lady who wants to get married but does not want to have her own biological children. She says, as a woman who wants a long-term partnership but does not want to have her own biological kids, is so rough while dating because a lot of men who are getting married, they want to have children and they want those children to be from their wives. I think that's how marriage is marketed to men. Because most men who don't have an interest in having kids also don't want to be married. Only a few are open to long-term partnerships. The ones that I meet that are ready to settle down are also wanting me to be a mom. And I am a type who prefers a guy to bring their own kids. The age range I go for in dating is guys in their mid-20s and early 30s, so that the guys that already have kids have young children. The most recent example was this guy with 2-year-old twins, which was a hard no for me because I prefer guys who have children from the age of 5 and older. I was 18 and 21 the two times I got engaged, and I just went along with whatever they said because I thought that's what you do as a future wife. I have since spent some time being single, celibate, and in therapy. I know myself well enough to know what I want, and I speak up about it. Yesterday, I told the guy who I'm talking to that I do not want to have children, and his reaction was like, OMG. And he said, can we maybe compromise if we ever get to that? And I was like, how? He says he really likes me, but I told him there's tons of great girls out there that are just as passionate about having children as he is, and I don't believe in either of us sacrificing. However, I am still a hopeless romantic, so the journey continues. Let's jump straight to the comments. The first one says, it is so crazy to me how people think there could ever be a compromise on a baby. Another one says, my friend compromised and became a father of 2 when he didn't want any children. He says he doesn't regret the children, but he does regret the mother, and part of that is probably a direct result of the compromise. Another one says, I've met guys who don't want kids, but they don't want to get married either. So, yeah. Another one says, my then girlfriend and I had that conversation about kids very early on in our relationship. Neither of us wanted them, but both thought that marriage was a good idea because of the legal ramifications. We've been married for 35 years. Another one says, I absolutely agree with you because I have always pictured myself as a wife and have never pictured myself as a mom, not even passively or even hypothetically. Another one says, it seems oftentimes the men who want kids are the least qualified to have them and vice versa. In my experience anyways, speaking as a man with friends who fit both sides. Another one says, I see you don't want input, but I cannot help myself. The good news is, as you age, you encounter a greater proportion of men who are been there, done that, and don't want to do it again, where kids is concerned. And their kids will be more likely to be school-aged and getting independent. Another one says, my cousins, a brother and a sister, are married to other spouses but are both childless. So there are people who are interested in child-free marriages. It may be easier to find them if you raise the age of your dating pool. Incidentally, people who can compromise or change their minds. My hubby compromised on having a second child, and my friend compromised on having a second child after the hubby almost died from an aneurysm. I think both my hubby and my friend cannot imagine life without their second children. This one is a good one. She says, I do not understand this. As a woman, you say you don't want kids. The dating pool becomes so small, it's unreal. And the fact they never take it seriously is even more annoying. However, if a man says he doesn't want kids, it's all high fives and a bunch of respects for not overpopulating the world. Seriously? Anyway, you will find your person. Just be patient. But I know it's hard to see light when it seems like no one can respect your I don't ever want to have kids decision. Another one says, I'm glad that you know exactly what you want because this is important. However, I would discourage you from dating someone who has children though, not because of anything bad, but because inevitably there will be something that comes up and your partner will choose his children's wants and needs over yours. And that might build resentment towards your partner or his kids. I watched my cousin go through that and it was really sad and made me kind of angry at her because she knew he had kids and was an active participant in their lives. And she would get so hateful towards them when something would come up that meant she had to change her plans. Ooh, that is so hectic. The last one says, I don't want to have children, but I have found that in my experience, a lot of women that state they don't want to have children actually end up changing their mind and start wanting them. Now you have a marriage where someone changed their mind and wants children when the other one does not. That usually ends in a divorce. Or even worse, is a friend of mine's friend's wife didn't tell him about changing her mind and went off birth control and got pregnant, and so now the dude that didn't want a kid has one. I don't know too much about how the conversation went, but the wife's reply was something like, I know I told you I didn't want kids, so I didn't want to tell you I changed my mind because I knew you wouldn't give me one willingly. What? The friend that told me the story got a vasectomy the next week as a precaution since he and his wife agreed on no more children because now he is terrified that his wife might change her mind and go off birth control. Oh, that was a funny one. Anyway, thank you so much for making it this far in the video. I'll catch you in my next one. Bye.